afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. So, today we are going to see another writing topic, and that is email writing. So, what is actually email writing? So, this is basically composing, sending, storing, and receiving messages over an electronic communication system. So previously it was not that much popular. Like when we used to write email, it also did not used to be that much precise or proper, but nowadays email writing has become very much important, and it is also necessary to know all the rules of email writing. And it involves composing, sending. As I was saying, when you write an email, you have to compose the words, you have to make sentences, and then you will send. Not only this, you can also save your mails in your inbox. All right, so we basically do all these things over an electronic communication system. So this is what basically writing means. Now there are two types of email. So one is formal email and another one is informal email. Now let's look at formal email. So formal email means business or professional purpose. So we basically write an email. Um, uh, we basically write a formal email when there is any business work or when there is any professional purpose. So that is when we write a formal email. And when we say that we just want to talk to our friends or family, then basically it becomes an informal email because we tend to use a lot of personal things, we tend to use a lot of personal talks with those people, right? So it becomes informal. And for our personal communication, we write an informal email. Then informal email we use simple language and complete sentences. So what does it mean? When we write a sentence, or it has to be clear. Not only this, each and every sentence has to be complete. We cannot use any, a hedge or any type of incomplete sentence. So informal email, the language has to be simple as well. You cannot use a lot of compound and complex sentence like dialogue writing. Alright, so the language has to be simple and the sentences should be complete. But in informal email, you can keep the language a bit casual, and it says casual or emotional tone and sometimes incomplete sentences. So see, in informal email, you can use incomplete sentences sometimes. For example, but why? So you see, this is not a very much complete sentence. So we are using casual tone and we are using incomplete sentence. So this is when we write an informal mail where there is casual or emotional tone in that message, and sometimes we can use incomplete sentences as well. So informal email, there is no contractions. So if we remember about writing a dialogue, we saw that contractions means to shorten words and make it one word. Like I will not do I won't, then I am do alright, so these are contractions. So in formal email, do not even try to use contractions because that is very much informal. So since it's a formal email, you should always use whole word like I am, you have, I will not. Okay, so you must try to write like this. If each and every sentence or words has to be complete and there should be no contractions in that email. But in informal email, you can use contractions. For example, F, you see that in informal email there is nothing, professional, and there's nothing formal. So you can say whatever you want to your near and dear ones, right? So in this case, you can use contractions in terms of informal email only. And if we go to another rule, we can see that in formal email, we put proper punctuation marks at the end of every sentence. No use of exclamation marks. So when you are writing an email for professional purpose, you should always keep this in mind that you have to use proper punctuation marks in each and every sentence. And not only this, you have to put full stop and question mark at the end of every sentence. However, you cannot use any exclamation marks in your mail. When it comes to formal email, you cannot use this mark because this becomes informal then. Alright, so at the end of every sentence, make sure that you are using either full stop or question mark. Alright, but on the other hand, you can see that in informal email, they lacks proper punctuation marks. So sometimes we tend not to use proper punctuation marks because we're just using our authentic language, or we're using just our casual language to communicate with our family or friends, right? So we don't focus on punctuation marks that much. Not only this, in informal email, there can be exclamation marks, all right, because the language is casual and we use a lot of emotional things when we write something to our family or friends. So there can be exclamation marks, and not only this, there lacks proper punctuation marks. So you see there are two types of mail. One is formal mail, another one is informal mail. So it's very important that you should know the differences between these two types of email so that whatever you get in your exam, you can answer by keeping these rules in your mind. All right. Now we are going to move on to the next slide, and you can see some other rules of writing an email. So when you are about to write an email, you are going to see these points in front of you. So the first one is, let me change the color of the highlighter. Yes. First one is from. So from sender's email ID. Suppose I'm writing someone an email. So I will include my email address in this part. From. Alright. 2. Recipient's email ID. I'm going to provide that email address, and it has to be the person I am writing the message to. Alright, so this is where you will put the recipient's email ID. Now CC and BCC. Look at this tags carefully. So CC means other individuals receiving the same mail with visible IDs. So I'm writing an email to my boss, for example, but I want another friend of mine to see that mail as well. So there, in that case, I'm going to put my friend's email address in CC. Okay, that means the recipient, the one who will get my email, will also see that I have kept my friend's email address in that email. All right. So that is why it says other individuals receiving the same mail with invisible IDs. But in terms of BCC, other individuals receiving the same mail with invisible IDs. So when you put someone in BCC, that means the recipient, that means the one who will receive your mail won't be able to see this email address that you will put in your BCC. Alright, that is why it says with invisible IDs. That means the recipient won't be able to know that there is someone else who is watching our emails. Alright, so then comes subject. Now this is very important. Here you are going to write the title or the reason of writing your mail. And when I say this, it's very important because in this part you have to write a very good subject. If your subject is not proper or good, the recipient sometimes will avoid your message. Suppose if you are sending an email to your boss, he or she can sometimes avoid your mail just because the subject doesn't seem that much important or precise. Alright, so please make sure that whenever you're writing the subject, it has to be precise and catchy. Alright, you don't need to write any sentence in the subject, rather you will use few words or few phrases to make the recipient understand about your reason. Alright, then comes salutation. So whenever you start writing an mail, you start with dear, respected, hi, etc. So basically we use hi in terms of informal mail, but when it comes to, we also use dear in both formal and informal email, but when we use respected, it means we are writing a formal email. Alright, so this is how we salute others. So you need to use such sentences and then you are going to put down the name. Okay, then in main body we can see this is the main body, the main content of the email. So this is the main part of your entire email. So first you are going to introduce yourself because it's very important. If you do not introduce yourself, the recipient won't be able to know who you really are. So suppose you can just, I will show you a few examples of the introduction. So in introduction you are going to mention who you are and what you are working for, and then you can start telling your reason or telling your purpose of writing mail. Then number two, it says matter in detail. So when you are writing an email, you have a purpose, right? So you have to talk about it in details, but not too in details. Remember that you cannot put a lot of details while writing an email. You have to be as much precise as possible while writing an email. And then comes conclusion. So in conclusion, you're going to wrap up your email and put a good concluding sentence so that you can actually convey the message effectively, so that your purpose becomes successful. All right. Then in closing part, we're going to end your statement. As I said earlier, that you have to write a statement where it shows that you're concluding your email and also um, you are fulfilling your purpose of writing that mail. And then you can also upload few attachments like pictures or videos or any kind of images, right? So there are lots of options in mail. There you can upload files, there you can put in links, and you can upload any image as well. And then you're going to signature line. There you are going to write the sender's name, signature, and other details of contact. So when you are done with your mail, then you just put your information, okay, like who you are and what's your designation. So you just write these details about yours in the signature line. All right, so now we are going to look at few other points that we must remember while writing a mail. So respectful salutation in terms of formal email, as I said earlier, that when it comes to formal email, you have to use respectful salutation like dear or respected. Alright, not important to use it in formal mails. So sometimes in informal mails you don't need to use dear or respected. Alright, so you don't need to use such words in informal emails, but for formal emails, it's very important that you use respectful salutation at the beginning of your email. Then the email um, has to be. So there is a little mistake. It will be be. So the email has to be grammatically correct, spelling, and proper punctuation marks should be included. So if you look at this point, it's very, very important when you're writing an email, especially when you're writing a formal email, you cannot make a single mistake because it shows that you are ineffective and you are not professional. So it's very important that whenever you're writing an email, it has to be grammatically correct. Not only this, the spellings and punctuation marks should be included and proper. Alright, next comes this rule. It means it has to be short and specific. As I already said, you cannot make it lengthy. When you are writing a mail, it should be focused on the topic, okay? And it should be short and precise. Subject should be within one line. As I said, you don't need to write a whole sentence in your subject. Also, you don't have to use many sentences in your subject. You just write few words to express your reason or purpose of writing that email. So yeah, then you have to recheck before sending an email.